What is up guys, Deadset here. In patch 2.12, the passive playstyle of the old Marauder Demon Hunter makes a welcome comeback to real archery. Let me walk you through it. The focus of the reworked Marauder is to make the Demon Hunter himself the major source of DPS in the playstyle, utilizing the 6-piece bonus of Marauder to devastating effect. Sentries are ever at your side, but serve as your wards and boosts, rather than sole damage dealers. While sentries are still a key part of the build, they are no longer automated dispensers of destruction. Encouraging more active gameplay, the developers turned the 4-piece bonus of Marauder to only fire spenders from the sentries when you fire one yourself. Sentries also directly reflect your damage delivery, adding 100% more damage to your skills per sentry dropped. Your overall strategy with the Marauder now is to drop your 3 charges of Sentry in key positions to cover the battlefield and proc the chill effect, and then start kiting with devastating cluster arrow shots. When your hatred depletes, and it will, fast, replenish your reserves with either a preparation or companion pop. If there's anything left standing after the initial barrage, reposition smartly with Vault and build up hatred the old way, using the primary attack Evasive Fire. This is the build I use in the demonstration, and now I'll go over the skills individually. As previously mentioned, Sentry has been reworked from a cooldown into a charge-based skill, since each sentry in the field translates into more damage dealt by your own spenders. This mandates the use of both custom engineering as a passive and Bombardier's Rucksack as a quiver, to synergize with Cool the Weak passive and Bane of the Trapped legendary gem, as well as to provide additional safety in greater rifts. We'll be using the cold rune Polar Station. Try to drop one of the turrets directly on top of the enemy and spread the other 2 of the initial charges to the best of your ability to cover the battlefield in the chilling effect. If the fight is prolonged, continue the strategy with your rucksack charges, but always strive to have one turret on top of the biggest threat. As dictated by the 4-piece bonus of Marauders, turrets will only fire spenders when you do, cutting down the number of spenders you can afford on your skill bar while still maintaining your hatred. For greater rift purposes, Cluster Arrow shines among the competition in the DPS race, especially with the elemental and rocket synergy of the Maelstrom rune. The 5 rockets released from the volley benefit greatly from the ballistics passive, and the minor life gain per enemy hit is simply icing on the Maelstrom cake. With its troublesome cost of 40 hatred per shot, however, Cluster Arrow is an expensive beast to maintain. 2 resource-related skills are incorporated into the build to aid in the struggles of hatred management. First up, we have Preparation. Flipping this traditionally discipline-oriented skill into a pure hatred tool, the Punishment rune also cuts its base cooldown by 25 seconds. This cooldown is by far the biggest resource spike in your favor, so consider its use carefully and be aware if you can end the fight within a few seconds of Evasive Fire restoration or a simple health globe grab. The second option is to pop an active effect of the Companion skill, which triggers the hatred restoration of the Bat Companion. Keep in mind, however, that the Marauder set puts all the companions at your side for the small price of the skill slot. The active pop also nets you the Spider Companion's Slow, the Boar Companion's Taunt, the Ferret Companion's Health Globe Grab, and the Wolf Companion's 30% damage increase. Thus, treat your Companion activation not only as a source of 50 hatred, but also as a damage and safety spike. While the protection of the Boar is nice, it is also temporary, occupying the enemy for merely 5 seconds, and only those in a 20-yard radius around you. It will not be enough to keep you in one piece. At the same time, the defense options for Demon Hunters are in a rough spot. Smokescreen becomes less attractive with each nerf. Shadow Power is still unreasonably little mitigation, and Caltrops is hampered by dropping at your feet instead of cursor location. In their place, you'll do well to pick up a repositioning tool in the face of Vault, a cheap and reliable displacement skill that can take you great distances with the Tumble rune. Finally, a Solitary Generator also works its way into the build. Evasive Fire turns into the strongest primary for hatred restoration with the Focus rune. Doing away with the annoying backflip of other Evasive Fire runes and conveniently synergizing with its cold damage, it makes for a perfect fit. In the ideal scenario, you'll only have to fall back on evasive fire generation in emergencies, but you can also use it as a method of gathering aggro from stray enemies as you set up your sentry nest. Now that I've looked over the Cold Cluster Arrow build, I would like to mention a few noteworthy variations that either branch out into Elemental Arrow or stray into the fire element on skills and gear instead of cold. The Crider Shot Bow is a rare drop that turns Elemental Arrow from a Hatred Spender into a generator. This allows you to drop Evasive Fire for Elemental Arrow, drop Polar Station for Spitfire Turret, and enjoy the benefit of sentries spamming Frost Arrow as you generate. The downside of this choice is that you simply want to spend as little time as possible generating hatred and delivering to the maximum of your potential through Cluster Arrow instead. Another build option deviates into fire elemental damage, replacing the Marauder chest for a Cinder Coat and completing the 6-piece bonus through the other 5 pieces. In groups with Monk or Crusader pullers, the fire variation drops Maelstrom for Loaded for Bear, which provides concentrated burst, and loses ballistics in favor of steady aim. When soloing, the Fire Demon Hunters can forgo Cluster Arrow altogether, and opt for Multishot with Arsenal. This concludes the overview of the active skills. Now let us look through the passives. Custom Engineering is the dream passive of the Marauder playstyle, doubling the duration of your sentries and increasing their maximum number in initial charges to 3, while their numbers will swell even further with the Bombardier's Rucksack. The ability to skyrocket your damage by 300% at the start of every major battle is too good to pass up. Building our damage around the rocket onslaught of the Maelstrom rune, it is only natural to pick up the synergy of the Ballistics passive, doubling the effectiveness of the rockets, splitting off cluster arrows, and even giving you a free homing rocket every few attacks. This passive is a sizable multiplicative boost. Cool the Weak completes the offensive trio of passives, amplifying your damage against slowed or chilled enemies by 20%. This potent multiplicative passive gets triggered by the Polar Station Sentry and the Spider Companion, so make sure to always have one turret covering the enemy in its chill radius. Finally, we'll be using Awareness as a last line of defense in the admittedly meager protection the Demon Hunter has. It is a free life on a decent 60-second cooldown, coupled with a brief window of safety and life regeneration when triggered, and you'll find yourself thankful you picked it up the higher you try to climb in greater rifts. That about covers it for the build. Now let us go over the items. Patch 2.12 swept away the automated Sentry Demon Hunter and replaced it with a Daredevil playstyle that emphasizes on delivering the bulk of the damage yourself. Sentries only firing when you do renders the old favorite Tasker and Theo gloves and the attack speed breakpoint chasing useless. Taking their place is the newfound struggle with hatred management, and another stat rises to prominence: resource cost reduction. Sought after on the Marauder's gloves, resource cost reduction becomes the 4th primary, after dexterity and the double crit stats. On the Marauder shoulders, it takes the place of vitality, and alongside cooldown reduction and sentry damage, it makes for a glassy but effective choice. There is a notable variation on the shoulder that favors area damage over sentry percentage, but it is reserved mostly for group play, where monks and crusaders effectively clump up the enemy. In solo play, enemies tend to scatter, and sentry percentage remains preferred. Sentry percentage proves to be a mainstay on the Marauder chest as well, where it keeps company with dexterity and vitality. Rounding the set out, cluster arrow percentage alongside toughness stats is ideal on the Marauder boots, while the Marauder pants remain a pure toughness slot. Naturally, the 6-piece bonus is complete with the Ring of Royal Grandeur, and the place of the Marauder helm is taken by a new favorite, the Prideful Helm. Obtained through Act 3 cash rewards, this helm provides you with a hefty 30% resource cost reduction after not taking damage for 5 seconds. In a way, this helm exemplifies the Demon Hunter, encouraging you to play carefully for the sake of your survival and resources. Extending the utility of the 6-piece bonus of Marauder by an additional 200%, the Bombardier's Rucksack lets you have 2 additional sentries. Unlike the Custom Engineering passive, these additional charges are not immediately available, but you'll have enough time to drop them in any significant fight, and the potential increase of 500% to your cluster arrow damage makes this Quiver mandatory for the build. Following the changes, the old favorite roles on the rucksack, Sentry percentage and cooldown reduction, are replaced by cluster arrow percentage and hatred regeneration. No other weapon completes the Cold Demon Hunter quite like an Atrayu bow, preferably of the ancient legendary kind. That being said, other options for the weapon slot exist. The Atrayu faces worthy competition in Crider Shot and well-rolled crossbows, such as the crafted Arcane Barb. The former allows you to spice your damage output with Elemental Arrow, while the latter delivers slow but highly damaging shots that are efficient on your hatred spending. We've already discussed how gluttonous Cluster Arrow is on your hatred reserves. Seeking additional sources of hatred generation is warranted, and the Bracer slot provides such an opportunity. Reaper's Reps with high cold percentage, high crit chance and close to 30% resource restoration per health globe is currently best in slot, further sweetened by the fact that this is a craftable bracer and is more easily obtained as ancient than normal legendaries. For the belt slot, a well-rolled Witching Hour is by far the best piece of gear to add to your damage potential, while weaker options like the Hellcat Waist Guard or even a Saffron Wrap can be temporary solutions. The potential 50% crit damage on the Witching Hour seals the deal in its favor. For your jewelry, a Ring of Royal Grandeur from Act 1 bounties is mandatory to complete the 6-piece bonus of the Marauder set and still make use of the prideful unique property. As for the second ring, a Unity on yourself and your follower, along with an Immortality relic for him, is preferred for greater rifts above level 35. A reckless but nevertheless existing option is to forgo the survivability boost from the Unity combo for the all-out DPS potential of a Cold Damage Stone of Jordan. This will be an ultimate test to your reflexes, since any hit taken in Greater Rift 40 and beyond will likely result in your death. The trade-off is a major increase in your damage output, so try this strategy at your own risk. Aim for as perfect of a cold amulet as you can. The ideal rolls are crit chance, crit damage, cold elemental damage and an open socket. The better of an amulet you get with these stats, the more strategies you can implement. For example, immunity amulets such as Countess Julia's Cameo or Zephyrian Amulet will allow you to ignore the two deadliest affixes for the Demon Hunter, Jailer and Thunderstorm respectively. A crafted Hellfire Amulet, on the other hand, can allow you to take the Steady Aim passive as a free fifth, adding even more damage potential to your character. Your 3 jewelry sockets will be taken up by the legendary gems Zai's Stone of Vengeance, Bane of the Trapped and Bane of the Powerful. The first two are extremely powerful as they are their own multipliers in your total damage calculation, while Enforcer seems to fit a pet-based build with sentries at a first glance. Remember that the Demon Hunter himself is the major damage dealer of the build now. As such, Bane of the Powerful provides you with much needed damage against elites, and given you finish fights reasonably fast, a general boost of damage. In the Paragon points, I max out movement speed with 15 points, as the rest are provided by the Ferret Companion passively, and spend the rest on dexterity. Cooldown reduction, crit chance and crit damage in the offense section, resist all, life percentage and then armor in defense, and resource cost reduction, area damage and then life on hit in utility. And this is it for the Marauder Demon Hunter build. I hope you enjoyed the guide, and if you did, I would appreciate your subscription to my channel. See me live at twitch.tv/thedeadset, talk to me on Twitter and Facebook that I linked below, and I'll see you guys next time.